Welcome to Video 8, Who's Hiding on the Bus? Demonstration. In this small group activity, children mentally keep track of the changing total quantity of riders on an animal bus without being able to see and count the result. The materials you'll need for this activity are the hidden animal bus template, a blank 5 or 10 frame template, animal cards, a manila folder, glue, and Velcro. Please refer to the activity instructions for how to individualize for your classroom. This activity provides the opportunity to use the following key instructional practices for solving basic problems. Prompt children to notice and discuss how the quantity of a set changes as objects are added and taken away. Use a variety of tools including objects, fingers, drawing, and 5 and 10 frames to solve problems. Provide opportunities to solve problems with hidden results. And provide opportunities for children to see the different ways a single quantity can be broken into smaller quantities. Let's join a couple of classrooms as they engage in this activity, and then listen in as the teachers reflect with a colleague.
This is the animal bus.
Bus.
The animal bus. And it's going to pick up some doggies. There's something important to know. It's a very, very sunny day. And so, here's the bus.
Whoa! There's a lot of doggies.
Yeah, there's a lot of spots for the doggies. But since it's so sunny, we have to close the shade on the bus. So you can't see inside the bus. We're gonna close the shade. So you're going to, Eamon, you're gonna be the bus monitor.
Yeah.
You get to tell me, you have to keep track how many dogs are on the bus. And then you're going to tell your friend how many dogs are gonna get on at the next stop. So let's start. Here goes the animal bus. Now at the first stop, I have to tell you 3 dogs get on the bus. 3 dogs get on the bus. Okay, 3 dogs are close the shade. How many dogs are on the bus? 3 dogs. Okay, now we're gonna keep the shade closed.
6.
Here it goes. Going to the next stop. How many dogs are gonna get on the bus at the next stop? 2. So 3 dogs are on the bus. I have some tools here in case you need it. 3 dogs are on the bus.
One takeaway.
And 2 more dogs are gonna get on? 2 more dogs are gonna get on the bus. But so the shade is gonna stay down so you can't see. Sorry. They do not like the sun. Oh, now they're much happier. How many dogs are on the bus now? Can you figure it out? You can use your fingers to figure it out. You can use these tools to figure it out. How did you know 5 dogs are on the bus? The first stop we put 3 dogs on the bus.
3.
And then we added how many more dogs?
4.
2 more dogs? So you think there's 5 dogs on the bus?
Thanks for having me watch Who's Hiding on the Bus. Yeah. It was so fun.
It was fun. They were really into the dogs.
What kind of information were you able to?
Yes. Okay, so for this I played with Tanel and Bamlek. So when we started the game, I established at the very first stop, there's 3 dogs that we're gonna pick up. So I revealed that to them, and then we closed the shade, right? And then when we added 2 more, and I put it on my own and asked them how many, they said 5 right away. Right. But what I noticed is they had a really difficult time, which most of my students do, explaining how they know there were 5. I was waiting and wondering if they would say, well, the first stop had 3, and then we added 2 more, so of course there's 5 on the bus. So I left that experience not exactly knowing what their understanding is with the relationship of 5. And it's tempting because they said 5 so quickly for me to say, oh, they know it. Yeah. But when I just asked that question of how do you know, it was difficult for them to explain. I think, and I also just need to be more descriptive with how I talk about small sets. Yeah. At the very end of the game, I tried to sort of give them some of the language around it. So I said at the first stop there was 3, and then the next stop we put 2 more, and now there's 5. I think the more that they hear that kind of language, hopefully the more they'll start to see how 5 came together.
Yeah, and tools like the 5 and 10 frame
Yeah.
definitely help bring out those small quantities. I think the children seeing you use them as tools for solving problems.
Yeah.
If they're there and they're ready for structure, then
Yes.
we definitely want to go there.
Yeah.
But some others may still
Yeah.
need that one-to-one concrete physical feel
Yeah.
to model the situation.
I'm glad you brought that up because I had the 5 square tiles on the table,
Yeah.
but those almost seem like more of a distraction than a help. So
So for them, I think we have more discussion around that structure and seeing those small quantities within bigger. But I think I hear you saying other kids may not be there. They see these small quantities
Yeah.
and are able to build this mental number line in their heads. Then when they get to higher math and start adding and subtracting, then they can visualize that number line that lives in their head, right? And they know how to use it and how close they are to 5s or the 10s, and they're always just 2 or 3 away.
Right.
And that's what we want them to see.
Exactly.
That these small quantities help us get to these friendlier
Yes.
numbers within the structure of our number system.
also when I talk to parents, helping them understand this idea of a mental number line, because I get a lot of pushback when I focus on 5. So I really try to help them see that this idea of 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 living inside of their brain and seeing how they relate is what I'm trying to give them more opportunities to do.
Now, let's listen in as children use the 10 frame structure to see and talk about number relationships within 10.
And so on this very hot day, how many pets got on the bus? 2. So I'm going to take, they're going to get on the bus, and they came to the second house, and how many got on? 3. This time, 3 got on the bus. There were 2, and 3 more got on. So how many are there now? 5? You think there's 5? Let's take a peek. So there were 2 that got on the bus, the 2 doggies, and then 3 more got on the bus, and there were 5. So there were 5 on the bus, and at this house, 1 got on. How many are on the bus now?
6.
6?
Yes.
Do you agree? Yeah? Okay, let's see.
It's 6.
It's 6. How did you see 6?
Dots because we found 5 and then we found 6.
Because you knew that because 6 is 1 more than 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you see 6 on here?
Because if there's 5 and then if you put 1 more, it's gonna be 6.
How do you see the 6? Can you tell me how you see the 6?
Because there's 3 and 3.
You see 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom, and you know that 3 and 3 more is 6? Okay. So the bus keeps going, comes to the next house, and how many get on?
2.
2 more? Okay. 2 more got
That
on.
would be 8.
That would be 8. Do you agree? How did you know it was 8?
If you have 6, and then if you have 2 more, it would be 8. But 2 more, it's gonna be 10.
And if you put 2 more, there's going to be 10 because 8 and 2 more makes 10.
It's 1, it's gonna be 9.
If you put 1, it's going to be 9. So at the last stop, guess how many got on?
2 equals 10.
And 2 equals 10. So this bus is very, very, very full.
Let's watch another round as this teacher targets a specific key instructional practice.
There were 5 on the bus, and 3 more got on the bus.
That would be 8. 8.
Josali, do you agree that 8? How did you know that 5 and 3 more is 8?
Because it's It's like, because 5 is 2 and 3, and then if you put 3 more, it's 8.
So you went 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that how you did it? Okay, so look at this.
Yeah.
Is that 8? But
So it's 8, and if you put 2 more, it's going to be 10. And if you put 1, it's going to be 9.
how else can you see 8 here that isn't 5 and 3 more? When you just see these animals, how do you see 8? Because how many do you see at the top?
5.
How many are on the top row? Bella? How many are on the top?
4.
And how many are on the bottom? So 4 and 4 more is 8. I definitely think that the hidden piece really pushed them to hold on to the quantity and then operate from there, right? They had to hold on to the 3, and then 2 more got on.
Yeah.
And so they were able to say 5 without the help of the visual quantity. But I think that the reason why they were able to do it is because that visual quantity is really internalized for them.
Yeah.
So then they could really then say 3 and 2 more is 5. There's 5 on the bus.
Working with smaller quantities, they're able to then just hold those quantities in their mind and have discussions again about relationships and how numbers are related. We don't have to think about them as separate quantities.
Exactly. And if you already knew that there were 3 on the bus, you don't have to go back and count them.
Yes.
So I'm sure that for the kids who are still kind of thinking about counting on, and they're not really believing it, this is going to help them.
There was a point where it was 5 and 3, I believe, and you were pushing them to think a little bit more flexibly. Can you tell me more about that?
Because I made a choice. I think that the 5 was like this. And when they said 3 more got on the bus, I could have put, the 1, 2, 3, so that they could have seen the 5 and the 3 more. But I wanted to see what would happen if I put it like this.
Yeah.
But then they couldn't see it. When I asked them, is this still 8? And I think that I should have then said, well, I know that we had 5 on the bus and 3 more got on. So that's how you knew it was 8. But is this still 8?
The moving pieces, so seeing it as 5 and 3, and then just that same quantity being shifted and rearranged to be 4 and 4. I mean, that is literally what we want them to do in their minds when we ask them to think about quantities differently, right? But making connections to what they noticed in the first place. I think somebody had noticed that, there's 2 empty spots.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And still moving it. Okay, well,
Are there
there's
still,
still
2
2
empty?
empty? Yeah, right?
How can it be that 5 and 3 is 8 and 4 and 4 is 8?
Yeah.
Is that still true?
Yeah.
I think that they are starting to really, get those relationships of 1 and 2 more. I mean, you can begin to see how all that work is paying off for getting them ready for operations.
Yeah, I think we, just from the conversation, can see that children are definitely starting to build a number line. But I think we also want them to picture 10 frames, right? And moving those quantities around versus just this long number path, right? But I think making all those connections across tools, right, really helps them think about that structure and how that builds across our number system. But I think the other thing that has come up in this conversation is also, for example, 8 it might help me to think about 8 as 5 and 3 in some situations, but sometimes it'll help me think of 8 as 4 and 4, depending on the numbers that I'm operating on, right? So having lots of opportunities to see the same quantity in a different arrangement, because we don't know what numbers they're going to have to operate on, right? But we want them to be able to hold both of those as options depending on what quantities they're operating on, right?
Yep.
So, yes, lots of ways to think about numbers, to see the numbers. I think, again, just the visual piece really helping them see why these things work. Why are 5s and 10s friendly? Why should I make these, friendly numbers in my mind? But I think they're starting to see that.
The power of those small quantities, right?
That's right. We want to stay with those little numbers, but think about big ideas.